All right, everybody. Good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, whenever it is you tune in. Hope all is going well for you. I am just myself right now. Trey is on his way. Um, and before I say anything else, first off, Rawr. Second off, uh, try to not say the actual team names for this stream. All right. I'm gonna keep it a challenge for myself. Trey, when he joins, he's notified of this as well. So when he comes back on, he's gonna try his best not to say the actual team names. We're just gonna go with Red Stallions and Blue Eiffel Tower, or whatever other name that you want to give to our opponent. I'm gonna be very cautious as to avoid saying our actual team name, and I want you guys to try to chime in as well. The loser of this challenge, well, I haven't told Trey yet, but I have an idea. And it's going to involve something quarterback related, let's just say. So before we kick in, let's take a look at who is joining us right now. We got Ghost Peppers already on the memo. Big Ant already in the memo. The Bobby Boy Zone 3 already in the memo. I never actually learned how to say your name correctly, so if you can pronounce it for me or tell me how to say it, because Gak Exploy, I don't want to get it wrong. You got the memo. Hey, Floyd, let's hope that you get the memo when you're here. All right, we're in agreement. You just got to be on the lookout. Just got to be listening real close for if me or Trey says it, because I don't want to have to do the punishment, and this is my idea. So I don't want to do that to myself. All right. Afterwards, we're still going to be doing the Immaculate Grid Challenge for the both of us. If you're still new to that, then we'll explain it when we get there. But as right now, we're talking about Red Stallions versus Blue Eiffel Tower. All right. Yeah. I guess I could also accept Atlanta, Florida Dolphins. But, yeah. All right, so what we got going on right now is the matchup between Red Stallions, Rawr, and Blue Eiffel Tower. Just got to drill that in my head so I don't mess up when I read your guys' comments. I'm not going to hold you guys to the same accountability. If anything, you guys are probably going to have to trip me and Trey up when we start reading everything that you say. So, and as I say that, it's probably going to happen more often now. Okay, so matchups that we like. All right. I don't understand what the Blue Eiffel Tower is trying to do. This is so hard. I don't understand what this team is trying to do. Because they have Ryan Tannehill out with an injury, obviously. And so they're trying to flip-flop their opponents or with their quarterbacks. I don't know if it's going to be like what Carolina did when they had PJ Walker and like Sam Darnold or whatever, and they were trying to like stick with one quarterback for one drive, and then the next drive they'd switch out and go with another quarterback. I really don't know what their game plan is. I don't even know if they know fully. So it's going to be tough to see what the game plan is. All I know is that either one of those options is not going to be good enough against our defense. Our defense, again, played amazing to keep us in the game from the previous week. So, got Michael in here. Now, remember, everyone else that's going to stick around and see that or it's joining, if you're here to see the rules, then just understand that we're not going with the team names that we've been doing this entire time. We're going Red Stallions, Blue Eiffel Tower. All right. So everyone else that's in the chat, reminds any newcomers in here to be like, hey, don't try to say the team. If you do, it's not a problem, but just a little mental challenge for you as you pay attention. I have not learned anything about that, so I can't give it to you. But again, had something to say. So, yeah, with our opponent, they still have Derrick Henry. They still have DeAndre Hopkins. They're not going to shop them out. All right, despite what the rumors were or would have been. So we know who our offensive weapons are as far as like who we need to stop. Now, I would be afraid of them if I didn't have the coach that knew pretty much everything there is to know about Derrick Henry as far as possible tendencies, possible weaknesses, possible things that he favors or that he prefers in the run game, or so possible blocking schemes that he likes more than others, possible things that he can't or maybe can't really defend. I want to make their number one player on offense uncomfortable. It's not going to be the quarterback, all right? I don't think it was the quarterback even when Tannehill was in there. But they do have a run game that can still scare anybody. So, and I'm saying this because the Blue Eiffel Tower still somehow put up a good fight against Baltimore when they were over there in London. Then they're coming off a bye, and then they're facing us with their throwbacks uniforms that, frankly, I don't know if they deserve. If you want more information, look up what JJ Watt had to say about it. But yeah, if you're putting up a close game against an opponent that then wiped the floor using Detroit, kind of concerning, not gonna lie. But we didn't really have enough of either one of the quarterback options to go into having a complete sample size for a game plan. What that means for them, though, is that they have to game plan against what we could do. That's pretty scary considering they're all young quarterbacks that don't have a whole lot of experience. And yes, we have a quarterback that's kind of doing the same thing, but ours looks way more caught up than them. All right. If you want another quarterback that's really struggling, that seems to have some help, like enough help in order to win games, but just doesn't seem to be working out for them, I could look at the Packers. I could look at, well, this team that we're facing right now. I could look at Chicago. I could look at, there's a lot of teams, man. Like they're not all doing good. So I just saw this one post where it was like, how are the Bills 4-3 and the Falcons 4-3 when they look like completely different teams? What they got to understand is that if the Red Stallions beat the Blue Eiffel Tower, and let's say the 49ers lose to the Bengals, which is kind of very possible considering I don't know what their status is for Brock Purdy, us and the 49ers have the same record. Like at that point, we could be fighting for second place in the division or in the conference. Who'd have thought, right? And San Francisco's route to the playoffs doesn't look easier than ours. So there's that. King Richie, good to see you. Rule of thumb, try your best not to say the name of the team of either one. Because that's the challenge that me and then eventually Trey is going to have. All right. Didn't catch up on how to pronounce your name correctly. So do we contain Henry and force the young quarterbacks to have to throw the ball, or do we shrink the passing game and attempt to slow down Henry? All right. So it's also Tyjae Spears. Good point. I think what they want to do is run the ball first because that's their bread and butter. Passing is not their bread and butter. They still have Hopkins, right? They still have people that can catch the passes for them, but they don't have people that can reliably throw passes for them. So if we want to have the advantage on defense throughout the game, what we need to do is rally up a lot of points early on, eliminate that ground game entirely for them. So that way we're not having to force ourselves in a position where we have to play close and they can always consider the run as a scenario for them, right? Because they want to run the ball in order to keep themselves in this game. And they have the person that's necessary to do it. There's not a whole lot of running backs that can fulfill this role of like keeping a team like this in a game, but it's them. It's definitely Derrick Henry. So I like our chances to not have to worry about this problem. Because who else they don't have, apart from Ryan Tannehill, is Kevin Byard now, which really surprised me considering how little they got for him. But hey, anytime you accidentally speed dial the Eagles when it comes to shopping players, you somehow lose players every single time you do so. I don't know how that constantly happens to them. But yeah, if they're not a team that will rely on Derrick Henry, Tajay Spears is the other person that they will try to rely on, even in the passing game too. So I want them to be stuck where the only option is for them to pass. That way, more turnover possibilities to us too, which gives us more drives to work with on offense, which gives us more points or at least a better field position so that we can pin them even deeper. Speaking of which, we're probably going to have a little bit more difficulty doing, considering I just saw Bradley Pinion on the injury report, and I want to figure out what was going on there and who is his possible placement for us. So what do we have here? We have this isn't updated yet, but Tay Davis, linebacker, he's out with a concussion protocol. Bud Dupree is limited, so he had a limited practice, so he was listed as questionable. Calais and Cordero, they're past 30, so okay. Opinions listed with an illness. What kind of illness? I guess that goes to show that Arthur Smith, did he learn his lesson? I don't know. When it comes to listing Bijan as a injured player, because he got snaps in, right? You can't get on the field if you're listed as injured. So because we didn't list him as injured, then we had to play him, I guess. And plus, Bijan wanted to try to be on the field for us. I don't know, but as someone else that's mentioned that, like, hey, Terrell Davis did the same thing, and it didn't really go well for his career after that. Like, I don't want to take that risk, man. Because at least Terrell Davis did that when he was at the prime of his career. They had like 2,000 rushing yards. They already were in the Super Bowl. So it's like it was the last game for them anyways for a while. But you can see how that really damaged his career in the long run because he had a short career as a result of that. So again, you don't want to risk it. You don't want to look at another example in an injury report and be like, hey, well, he did the same thing, so it should work that way too for us now. It just doesn't work that way. So yeah, Burks, I don't really have that much of fear about him. I suppose, again, look at who we have as our corners, man. Like, They should be fearing us, man. Okay. So we got Pat O'Donnell, elevated Andre Smith. Those are the two practice squad. Oh no, we elevated someone else in the practice squad too, right? Or from the practice squad? I just saw a transaction. Anyways, I want to take a look at the Blue Eiffel Towers injury report. All right. Whew. All right. Most of these guys had a full practice recently. So they still got Danico Autry. I guess he just rested. Aaron Brewer, their center, has a neck injury, but he practiced all right. Traylon Burks had a full practice with a knee. Luke Gifford, the linebacker, was dealing with a hamstring. Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins are just resting. Elijah Molden, their other defensive back, he's got a hamstring, but he still had a full practice. Chris Moore, wide receiver, on concussion protocol, but he's had a practice. He had a full practice. Jeffrey Simmons, with a shoulder injury, he still had a full practice. And Antier Tart, with a toe, still had a full practice. So it's a long list. I mean, they still have Hopkins. It's just who's their quarterback that's throwing to him, man. That's the biggest problem. Okay, so we signed him to the practice squad and then elevated him on the 53-man roster. The same. Okay. So kind of one transaction. Yeah, I like Simmons a lot. He is very underrated, as well as Jarrell Casey was over there too. So again, you got to give these defensive linemen their flowers before they leave without any recognition, man, because it's really painful to see like great players like that consistently just don't have enough props given to them. All right. So let's move on to something else that we like as far as our matchups. Again, we can talk about their quarterback situation all day, but I don't really want to do that. So let's take a look at our offense would look like. So for the Red Stallions, we should be having Bijan back, which is always a good thing. But even without him, like Tyler Algier had 112 purpose yards, like 50 on the ground, 50 something on the in the air. Yeah, and yikes. Well, I don't know what to say about that other than prayers to their family, man. That's tough. I just don't want to keep this on a somber note, though. But yeah, did recognize that. That's don't like seeing that. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, Matthew Perry, he was Chandler on Friends. Did he play with someone else in another show too, or in like a movie? I'm about as caught up as Friends actors as Arthur Smith is with climate change. I'm just kidding. Um, all right. Well, as we deal with that, okay, our offense. Red Stallions offense. Just trying to refresh, clear the mind, because I don't want any other comments to be. Oh, okay, he was in Fool's Rush as well. All right, well, got to keep the conversation moving because I'm still waiting for Trey. He said he'd be here by a certain amount of time. That certain amount of time has definitely passed at this point. All right, then. Okay, so matchups that we do like on offense. Stay with me, people. Our wide receivers. Speaking of which, I just saw the other day. It was Chris Long's podcast. I don't remember the name of it, so I'm sorry about that. But he did have Drake London on there recently, and they got to talking about a couple of different things. His upbringing, how basketball favors wide receivers as far as like a moving around and getting into space and just like identifying zones and where to be and how to manipulate the coverages and all that kind of stuff. That was really cool to listen to. As far as they also talked about playing in London, given his name. And one thing that they had a conversation about was the idea of a team moving over there, specifically like Jacksonville, right? If they were to move over to London, like how would their schedule look like? One thing that I never really considered that Drake London brought up in there, which I thought was really smart on his part, was how do you get free agents and like draft picks over there? Because that's a big commitment to that team. Because yeah, over here you could just move from state to state and not have to worry about all that kind of stuff. But then you have to get like an international passport. Like everyone's got to do that. And if you just want to try for a workout for that team, you still got to get flown over there by the team. And then if you don't succeed in the workout, they got to fly you back out to the States. Like that's a lot of stuff that, I mean, they've thought about it for years. But yeah, I one thing, it just helps that the Jaguars are good right now so that they can have this kind of conversation. If they weren't good, then it would kind of feel like it was a bad PR move on their part. And be like, yeah, this team is so bad that the country just straight up rejected them. That's what it might feel like. Yeah, you can just straight up say that. I have no problems with that. I don't want to seem as though like there's nobody on that defense. But at the same time, they're 2-4 for a reason, man. Like I can't be too scared of this team. They do have solid pieces to their defense, but like how much of that was a credit to like what Bayer was able to do for them in coverage. I don't even think they really got a player out of it too. So it's like you're not even replacing this dude on the field right now. You're just hoping that you could eventually. Not a great move by them. So I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say about this team other than the fact that I don't want to say their name. So I don't know if I could say that about Bayard. He was like a great safety for them for a while. But come on, I don't think anyone's talking to him about like being Ed Reed. I'd say maybe like man, I don't even know. If I say another team, then I might give him too much credit or not enough. But yeah, like he was a good piece in their secondary, you know? So to just let that go, especially to the Eagles again. Come on, man. I guess that kind of subjective. But you take Ed Reed off of the Ravens, and they still have a good defense. They just have a good front seven to match up against whatever their secondary was. Now, their margin of error isn't as big, but it's like they already weren't that fantastic of a defense. And now they're missing him, so it could get worse for them down the road. I don't know. I can't say that because our biggest opponent isn't really so much them. It's more ourselves, as you can tell by how we snatched victory from the jaws of defeat against Tampa Bay. So, did they? I guess they did. Either way, it's not that great of a replacement. Like, why do you think he was the person that got shipped out to him? Because he couldn't cover the deep route thrown by Tua to Tyreek Hill. So again, like you're it's like the Aints signing Daniel Sorensen. It's like, all right, fine. You think you can replace like Tyrann Mathieu in a pinch if you could with him? No. Okay, so let's move on to other things that we may not like or our biggest concern for. Michael's already beaten me to it, so let's move on with them. Biggest concern is Matthew Bergeron against Jeffrey Simmons. Yeah, I'm just trying to think about the ways in which we could game plan on behalf of him without sacrificing the ability to cover on the edge. Because we can try to pinch on the inside. Like, you see how other teams will defend against Aaron Donald? They will kind of like pinch their offensive linemen together so that if he's like lined up in the middle of three dudes, then they will kind of like circle him. So I think that's just too much defending against one person. But I guess we're better be safe than sorry. It's just you're leaving other guys like Danico Autry to also get the stop too. So I think we have a plan for it. Where this offense is being constructed, we can have a mismatch for any type of defense outside of an accidental loss. The other two losses were of mistakes. Yeah, like I said, like we're beating ourselves mostly. So it's like it's not anything in which I can say that the Red Stallions just straight up lost this game because we weren't the better team. Like, we could have been on par with the other games. Like, we could have had a much better game. I'm probably looking at like a 16-14 matchup at some point in the Jacksonville game. If we had that completion for Drake London in the back of the end zone, which was just like he just didn't get the other foot in bounds. And I would like to try to take away the only pick six. But I can't do it, so that's why it's not a scenario I want to play around with for too long. I knew that he had the picks, like the 5th and 6th round picks. I forgot that Edmonds was a part of it. Again, I don't know how it makes them better. And I don't know if he's going to be there for the long run. But I'm going to ask you guys this question, though. Of the two quarterbacks, who do you think is going to have a better day between Levis and Willis? Because do think that Malik is going to be harder to bring down, but I also think that they're going to have a lot of opportunities where he's going to hold on to the ball a little bit longer than Levis. So he might give us more opportunities to try to bring him down if we don't do it at the beginning. Are they adding a third one in this mix? It can't be a 3. Well, I'm not trying to include him. I'm trying to include our opponent. So I'm talking about the Blue Eiffel Towers here. Yeah, I know that he shouldn't have that many problems. I will say that I can't really boast a whole lot about their secondary or about their defense in general. But I do like who they would have in the future. I can at least say that much. One thing I took a look at before was how everyone was on offense and on defense in terms of third down conversion and like red zone attempts. So just as an update, the Red Stallions are 15th in the league on offense in terms of third down conversions at almost 40% of the time. We are just 22nd in red zone in terms of scoring a touchdown with 47.8%, which seems very high. But the numbers that are really high is that we're third in third down defense in the league, only allowing 33.7% of attempts converted against us. We're third in third and fourth down conversions as well. 7 attempts, 2 conversions brings up a 28.6 fourth down conversion rate. And then we're top 5 in the red zone as well. So I think those numbers we can easily keep in those high marks. Levis strikes me as a gunner, but he'll mess up trying to force things. Like mayo in his coffee. Malik could hurt us more on the ground, more than likely extending the play. Just really, there's been a couple of throws that were all right that he had in like the preseason and stuff, but I don't know how comfortable he feels like in a structured offense. Our inside guys should eat this game. Pitt, Smith, Jefferson, Hollins, and a 3-headed monster running back, hopefully. Again, you really can't. Again, our opponent really can't stop this team. I cannot stress that enough. Our opponent can't stop this team, this offensive structure. Ourselves, absolutely. But our opponent can. So that's progress. Yeah, we'll have to see because, Ritter was having that kind of stuff said about him still, too. But I think we kind of seeing that it's not typically the case. He was 19 to 25 in that Tampa game. 76% of your passes are completed in a game like that. 250 yards. Like, we were moving on that team. We were moving on that defense. And I knew that going into that game. I was like, hey, we're going to have a lot of opportunities to go down the field. It's just a matter of us punching it in. And what happened? Which is why part of me is like kind of concerned about saying anything in this game just to see what kind of power my words hold here. So there's that. There has been no sign of Trey, by the way. Hope it's okay. Just gonna check up on him real quick. Because the last time I talked to him was about 48 minutes ago. Just gonna send him a message. You okay? And we'll see what we go from there. If not, then I'm gonna do the Immaculate Grid on my own. And I'm gonna easily go about this entire stream not saying the actual team name. And I respect the fact that everyone else has been doing the same thing. So appreciate that. By the way, in case you're still here, Jay, I am kind of, I don't know. I'm in Whole Cake Island now. And we just had the conversation with Luffy and Big Mom when he was in the prison book. That doesn't make sense to anybody else. I had all the context in the world, and it didn't roll at me. All that sense to me either. So you're not too far behind. He averaged first down per throw. Again, that's like 10 yards per attempt. Okay. Trey is logging in now. It took way longer than what he told me. Anyways, our edges cannot lose contain on Malik. Here's the thing. When it comes to that, I want Calais Campbell playing inside. I want Ebiketie. I want Malone. Because we may not see a whole lot of Bud Dupree. I want to see those guys, especially containing that edge, being that kind of quasi spy container, like flanking out on behalf of the running back that would be running a route there, or just kind of looking for like a screen pass that they would try to do. Like, I need guys with good quickness and good vision out there. Calais, I love you. You're not doing that, right? Like, I think you can understand that you're not capable of doing that on a consistent day. With that being said, I don't imagine that we'd be on the field a whole lot as a defensive unit. So maybe I can give them a few chances. But then again, that'll be the play in which they break off a run like that, or we blow a coverage or something, then that we just can't recover from. Don't like it when that happens. But no team's perfect. All right. So as he is locking in, we're going to get his takes on this game eventually. I haven't looked at the Immaculate Grid, by the way. I haven't looked at it all week. And I assume that Trey has done the same thing. I don't care if he does, but I just got to figure out which grids I can use that are new to both of us, you know. I will say this, though. I had this question, and I don't know how often I've been able to use it, but since we got time, what did last week do, like the performance of our team as a whole? What did it do to change you? Or at least like change your viewpoint of this team? Did it change at all? Yes or no? Any explanation would be fantastic. As I wait for you guys. Water break. Just sending Trey another message. All right. No change here. Just got to clean up the turnover issues. Always easier said than done, though. But I do like seeing Ritter and Heineke and all that kind of stuff performing the ball security drills as I go through the tunnel, as they preparing for all the knockdowns and whatnot. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Cartier Walker at all. So, yeah. Prove the Stallions can have a top 5 offense easily. I don't know if we're going to end up with those kind of statistics, but on game film, sure. I think that we've put enough evidence out there that suggests that we can always be a threat with anybody on the field. So I like being able to say that than like pointing at a number and being this way, because you can always kind of like, I wouldn't say cheat your way, but there's so many different ways to go about having a top 5 offense. We're choosing we're choosing the path of most resistance here. But I like where we are as a team. And I like I said, I'm going to say it again. I've said it before. I like the youth of this team. I like the fact that there's a lot of young pieces that can grow together. And we're not spending a whole lot of money on them either. So can't be complaining too much about that. Tabro saying, I think Ritter's almost there to have a breakout game. I think he just had one against the other AFC opponent in the Texans. So maybe you can have another breakout game against the team that the Texans sprawled out from. That's right. Is that the right wording? Because, again, I mentioned this before, but if you're going to have the Blue Eiffel Tower as throwback uniforms, you should probably clear up all the history that happened that led you for the Blue Eiffel Tower to become the Blue Eiffel Tower for us this week instead of, like the Texans or something. I mentioned what JJ Watt said about it earlier, and what he proposed is that, hey, Texans are facing Blue Eiffel Tower at the last game of the season. I think whoever wins that game deserves those throwback jerseys. Because he loved those jerseys, and he got drafted by the Texans. And it just so happened to be that he never got to wear them. Which sucks, but you also had a couple years over there in Arizona. So if you really wanted to wear them, you could have went to the division rival. But I'm not JJ, and I don't want to upset that man. So, all right. As we continue to wait for Trey. He's typing. Computer's acting up. All right. All right, he's using a different one. He's using a different method in order to get here. Dude, I'm going to be so bored. I'm going to start talking about climate change. Because I want to get into the rest of the conversation, and I want to get into our game. But I need the other person to be here. So how is everybody else's night going? The continuation of the stream is a working in progress. Only have so many ideas and so many things that I want to say because I want Trey to be involved and have his own takes and stuff. You know what? I don't know. I probably have like closer to what Post Malone has as a mustache. You've seen him have one. But what he does is that he gets more of like this middle area filled up a little bit better. And plus is, being like 40 years old or whatever, he's going to have like thicker hair to use. Mine just gets long and just curls up into my lip. So when it gets like as bad as it is right now that you see, then I consider shaving it, but I don't want to do that. So it's not there yet. But I appreciate the thought. Come on, Trey. People got somewhere to be, including myself. Just kidding. No, half kidding. Any other comments that you guys want to bring to me? Because I haven't been able to. Got a question there, right? Anybody else that you guys want to bring about this game? Any of the questions that you have? Anything that I haven't brought up already? Because I don't want to. Again, don't want to bring up and take all of Trey's talking points. Troy versus Landman, as far as like a future starting linebacker for us. I think you stick with the hot hand here. As far as a linebacker goes, I love what Troy could become, but I understand that he still has his experience to learn, whereas Landman seems like he's more set. Now, everyone else did kind of like their AFN Player of the Week. Nate Landman is mine, in case you were wondering. I'm glad Delilah HD, she agrees with me. Again, I don't want to talk bad about Troy, but it's just Landman has more experience on him. Why not Troy and Landman with Ellis moved outside? I do like that. I just don't know how often we play like 3 linebackers on the field. Or technically linebackers, off-ball linebackers, same kind of thing. I do like that, like having those guys as the inside backers. And then Ellis kind of free roaming. But Ellis is also smart enough to do a bunch of other things for us too. So you can have like a lot of disguise blitzes opportunities, which I think we're going to see. So, yeah, I get what you're saying about that. Like, he does seem to be a little bit slow to react to certain things, but he's just overall like a better athlete. So if you can get him to learn all that stuff, then you wouldn't have to miss a guy like, and plus like having Landman and him together is a very good combo in the future. Because again, they're both really cheap, guys. Like that's one thing I love about this team as a whole. They're very young, very cheap, and they all want to play for each other for a while too. So, and it does help when you have that kind of high morale that gets you to carry on a 4-3 team, that which a lot of people are suspect of. Hey man, everyone gets this kind of slate of games where it's like 4th place gets the 4th place schedule, 3rd place gets the 3rd place schedule, 2nd place gets the 2nd place schedule, 1st place gets the 1st place schedule. Which is why you'll end up with teams that can go from 1st to worst and worst to 1st. It's the dynamic of the league. How is your phone and your computer being? Okay, so Trey says he's going to try again. If he's not here in 10 minutes, he's out. Which sucks. Been holding out for so long. And avoiding a lot of different things to say. For this reason. All right. Jefferson versus Hollins for wide receiver 2. I still like Hollins right now. But if we're talking about moving forward, it depends on like what you would consider wide receiver 2 here. Right? Like, because we could consider like the X, the Z receiver, the Y. That's usually like our slot guy. And who gets the targets of those three if they're on the field a lot more. All right. So Trey is typing, at least. So he says, also tell the people my key views of winning is less turnovers for the third time in a row. Defense gets some more turnovers and score in the red zone. Still typing. As he finishes that. All right. I think that's going to do it. We're going to finish up whatever Trey wants to say. And then I'm going to move into the Immaculate Grid. So if you haven't been here for the last time we did it, and I will explain it to you once I pull up the screen. Keep seeing the text bubble go up and then disappear. And then up and then disappear. Time to resign Alfred and Okuda. Has it been that long for Alfred, too? I guess we kind of signed him to a short deal, so that would probably be the case. You see the Stallions having a big day defensively. Yeah, absolutely. I would be surprised if they scored more than 10 points. I don't even know how they... Like, I don't care how they would do it. Speaking of which, he just gave me a score prediction. Score prediction, I think we break Vrabel after a bye week record and win 38-10 in a blowout. Bez breaks out, no turnovers, and has the best game along with Bijan. So that's what Trey had to say. Just going to ask him if he's got anything else, because I'm speaking it as he's typing it. I said slacking. Dang it. All right, I'm going to give him one last opportunity to get his final thoughts out. And then we're going to move on to the Immaculate Grid. Like I said, this is my first time seeing it. So you guys want to be a part of this? Then I will show you guys how we do it. This should be the game we put the NFL on notice. Stallions. Rawr. All right, so as he's doing that, I'm going to pull up the screen to share so we can all get some extra trivia in. Tell him I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, young gun. We'll be back next weekend. Rise up or Rawr. All right. Let's get this grid started. Let me know if you guys can actually see the screen more, because I was trying to look back, and maybe it was just like my foggy vision at the time with my YouTube, but I couldn't really see the screen all that well. I don't know how to really expand it unless I zoom in. But would you guys want me to do that instead? Because I didn't really get a good look at the screen when I was looking at it. So I want to give you guys a fair shot at seeing everything that I'm putting down. Then again, it's not a whole lot that's like shown. So Tell him to close out the hub and the computer will work. I don't know what he's dealing with, and I don't want to take this entire time to diagnose everything that could be going wrong over there. So we're just going to call it a night with him. But appreciate the thought for helping him out. All right. Share the screen. Connect the hub. All right, we are here. All right. Looks pretty good in your screen, right? Is everyone good? Everyone can see the. Everyone can see it good. Let's do that because you don't need to see my face anymore. Because we're more paying attention to this grid here. All right. So who wants me to explain this again? Because I don't mind doing it. Probably just do it on behalf of everyone else that might show up later. So we got 9 squares to fill out, but we only have 9 guesses. So each guess will be an attempt at filling out these tiles. Now, the challenge here is that you want to fill out all the tiles and not run out of guesses before you do. So what these tiles represent is that we have the Packers tile, which goes all the way down here. We have the Patriots tile that goes all the way down here. We have the Hall of Fame tile that goes all the way down here. And these intermingle with these ones that go sideways. So Cowboys tile goes all the way down here, Broncos tile, and then Falcons tile, which is today's. All right. So what this means in here is that this square has to be filled up with someone that played for both the Packers and the Cowboys. This square has to be someone that played for the Patriots and the Cowboys. This one has to be a Hall of Famer for the Cowboys. If you can apply those rules across the rest of the board, then you'll have that set. So we got it? Good? Makes sense? The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that you might have easy answers for certain squares, which is great. Correct. I hope I didn't say it. Crap. I don't think anyone caught me. I purposely didn't go that far down so I wouldn't accidentally say it. But yeah, so Nathan Floyd, you're saying Favre, which would be a good guess. However, if we want to fill out the Stallions, the best way to do it for this game purpose is to use an obscure player. So having Favre here would be probably a common answer, because what this game prides itself on is being able to have like the obscure trivia to go your way. So every time that we guess a player, we're going to have a percentage on the top right. Now, the percentage is probably what you're going to have the hard time seeing. But we want that percentage to go as low as possible. So if we have a high percentage answer that could be Brett Favre, then that doesn't do us any. That doesn't give us the best chance if there was someone else that we could have put. Now, Devondre Campbell's another one, but is he obscure enough? Andre Rison, I do think that like going back a couple decades does help out the percentages. So would you guys want me to go with Andre Rison as a guess just so you can see what the percentage would be? Because I haven't tried that out. I haven't, as you can tell, I haven't filled this out, so I haven't done that. AJ Hawk. Did AJ Hawk really play for us? That's the other thing, too. Sometimes you will have a guess of a player that may have signed with the team, but didn't actually produce a stat. Like they weren't on the field. They didn't start. They didn't play a game. And And that situations may happen from time to time, especially if we want to go with the route of obscurity. So I'll give you an example. I had an opportunity where I was able to fill in a slot for both teams, and I chose a player, and that player did not work for me because yes, he was signed to that other team, but he's listed on IR, so he never actually played it down. So this answer didn't work for me, which really sucked. But we're trying to see if they like either was on the field for them, produced a stat or whatever. I don't know what they go off of, but it doesn't really go off of transactions, which kind of sucks here. But so we could go that entire route just to fill out that entire square for the Stallions. I will try Andre Rison here. So that gave us a 9% rating right there as far as how common that answer was. 9% is good, especially for a first guess. So now we have 8 guesses left. We still have 8 tiles. So we're doing all right. Would Sanu be that rare? Because I have a few other options too. See if there's anyone else in which you can see. By the way, if you had the name that I didn't say, and you wanted to figure out, you can where you can find this is just you can probably just type in Immaculate Grid, or you can just go to Pro Football Focus or Pro Football Reference, excuse me, and then they will have it. They will have the game where it can just take you to the screen right away, and then you can guess on your own profile or whatever. Because as you can tell, if I go to previous grids, it'll recognize that I've played it before, even though I technically haven't really signed up or signed into this account. My laptop will remember that, hey, I've been here before and I've done certain things on here. So must be the cookies I accept or something. I don't know. So do we want to go with Sanu? What's everyone else thinking about this? We can go Brandon Copeland. Sante Samuel as well. I'd rather not say assented. One less S and you're there. Yeah, Brandon Copeland might be a great answer for Stallions and Patriots. I'm gonna have to make a grid. I'm gonna have to find a grid that has the blue Eiffel Tower as well. I don't even really remember Brandon Copeland as a Patriot, so I'm gonna try that out. And then Copeland, 0.06%. Wow, that is amongst the lowest I've ever seen. Everyone give a round of applause because that is really hard to do. All right. I don't know what Sanu would have been. That's the thing about this. I don't know what Campbell would have been as well, or AJ Hawk for that matter. I don't remember AJ Hawk playing for us as a Falcon. Maybe in like a preseason or something, but was Vinatieri on the Broncos? I don't remember that. I remember him being a Colt. Don't remember him being a Bronco. Maybe like before he was a Patriot. Even then, that's. I think Patriots, Broncos, Wes Welker. I think that'd be too common. Who are we thinking for Stallions Hall of Famer? Let's get some options out there for that. All right. I'm gonna try this. I don't see anyone else correcting this. Maybe 6 to 2019. Goodness gracious. Does it work? It does not work. So Vinatieri was not a Bronco. So I at least got that out of my system. I wouldn't have been able to sleep if I didn't try it. All right, so there's one spot that we can't fill, unfortunately. We can still go for a Stallions Hall of Famer. Again, Sanders, that's one of the easiest choices that you could say. I want to go something better. I just gotta separate those that we would have put in the Ring of Honor versus those that would have been inducted on a league-wide basis. Humphrey's an option. Dolman's an option too. Let's see. Do you want to go for Claude Humphrey or Chris Dolman? I don't know if Dolman would work because I think he was more of a Viking. But then again, if Humphrey could work for the Eagles, then I don't know if Dolman would work for the Stallions. I'm going to try it. Orton's another great choice, too. Dolman, does he work? 0.6. It's not 0.06, but 0.6. Fantastic guess there. I think Morton would have been slightly higher, especially with his fame for the field goal that he did make. All right. Do you want to try to fill out the Hall of Fame slots for the other teams as well? I just want to try to pay attention to the one slot or whatever that we can't fill out. Linebacker from Texas, we drafted early Falcon years. You're referring to Nobis? Hang on a second. Crap. Oh my goodness. I think you just got me to say their team name. That was your get. That was your statement. I can't use that as an excuse, but Okay. I'm going to send this to Trey because I'm going to let him know what my punishment was for not fulfilling the entire thing. Basically, for those that are still here, if I went the entire stream without having to say the name of the actual team, I would have been scot-free. But since I did technically say it for us, what I'm going to have to do is, and I need to be reminded of this, I'm probably going to set a message on my phone. The next time that you see me, I will start my stream and I will put mayo in my coffee. As a tribute to Will Levis. This does not affect whether or not we actually win the game or lose the game. That doesn't matter here. That was just going to be rockets to that. Because I was the one that on draft day said, hey, Will Levis eats corn the long way. But since I technically broke my own rule that I gave myself, I guess now, because Trey didn't even show up to try it, I will now. Well, I'm not gonna start putting it, but I now have to put mayonnaise in coffee and then try to drink it on stream in front of everyone else just to see what happens here. So you better not miss it because I'm not gonna be lingering on that idea for much longer. So yeah, it's not doing great now, Eric Mag. At least not for me. I'm gonna do the Will Levis challenge. Apparently, I was hiding that information. Can't do it anymore. So to finish this out, yeah, this is going to be 5 guesses for 6 tiles. So we, like I said, we can't complete this entire grid. We're going to have to leave a square empty. And I want to see if we can agree on which square we're going to leave empty. So if there's any other guesses that you want me to try to make in the meantime, I didn't want to do this. All right. This next couple of days are going to be dreadful for this reason. All right. The show must go on. You know what? Maybe this part I won't send to Trey, but if we could just huddle around each other real quick. Trey didn't show up. He gave me like 50 minutes of buffer time to try to get him into the show and couldn't. I think we need to get him on camera to join me putting mayo in coffee. Because we ride and we die together. Amendola, did he play for the Patriots and Cowboys? I don't know. I know that he was there for the Rams. He got bounced around to a couple of other teams late in his career. I could try it. Do you want me to do that? Right there. 2009, 2021? Maybe. Maybe he snuck on a team like that. What do you say? I'll try it. Because I honestly can't remember either. But I'd be willing to try it. Let's do it. He was not a Cowboy. All right. Well, we cleared that up. Now we have 4 guesses. All right. Let's get something on the board. Terry Glenn. No, he was a Ram. Amendola was drafted by the Rams. Terry Glenn. We'll try him. I remember 4%. All right. Pretty good. I remember Terry Glenn's dealings with Bill Parcells and how Parcells didn't really like him. So he kept calling him she. It's like, oh, hey, how did Terry Glenn do in practice? Oh, yeah, she did pretty well or whatever, or she didn't do all that well. That stuff would not hold up at all today. Let's just get that out of the way. But yeah, it goes to show that not every coach will like every player that's on their team. Jared Glanville and Brett Favre are an example of that. Yeah, Terry Glenn was another one that kind of got passed around too. All right. We can at the very least get these Hall of Famers out. We have a lot to choose from these 2 teams. So which name do we want to give? There's a couple of obvious ones, but then there's a couple of them that I want to think about. Keep Talib, Broncos, Patriots. I think that'd be common, but we'll give it a shot. 14. Not as common as I thought. All right, 2 guesses. I think we'll just clear out the Hall of Fame boards. We won't have to worry about the Packers anymore. So just give me a name for the Cowboys Hall of Fame and the Broncos Hall of Fame, and then that'll be it for tonight. Oh, did he? That's how you remember. Pat Bowlen. Wasn't he the owner? I think it's got to be a player. Was Pat Bowlen a player? You'd be blowing my mind right now if that was correct. I feel like I would have known that Pat Bowlen was a former player, let alone for the Broncos too. Let alone a Hall of Famer at that. So where do you want me to go from here? Charles Haley for Cowboys. I think that'd be coming too, man. He was a 5-time Super Bowl champion. Let's see here. I'll do it. Charles Haley. There. 2%? What? That is so much slower of a number than I was expecting. How did 2% of people guess Charles Haley for this? He's like one of the most obvious answers for me. Maybe that's why. Yeah, Pat Bowlen was the owner before Walmart or whatever. But like I said, we're just kind of restricting it to players. Floyd Little for Broncos Hall of Famer. I'm reading that right? Floyd Little. All right, so we got a rarity score of 232. That number would have increased or decreased, which is the point, if we got those two correctly. Let's go back here. Floyd Little, 2% as well. We had some really low guesses here. Bob Lilly, well, we already filled out the Cowboys one, so a bit too late for that. All right. So we got that out of the way. I don't know how Trey would have fared with this, but hopefully, and I can't believe that we still have this problem after like years of doing this together. We still have connection issues, technological difficulties. Sometimes I just can't speak English correctly. Audio issues, things of that nature. We're still sticking around. We're still kicking. We still have an audience. So I appreciate every single one of you for joining me. I would normally say us, but we're at it again. So, all right, that's going to be it. I'm going to just go ahead and go back there, go back here. And yeah, final score predictions from you guys before we go head out. I haven't given mine. Like I said, I'd be surprised if they scored more than 10 points against us. I guess the charade is gone now. We'll go ahead and start calling them Titans because I got to pay my punishment anyways. Score predictions before we leave. Let's hear. I'm thinking about mine right now. I think that because Trey said 38-10. I don't know if I want to go that high for. Yeah, I'm not saying that we can't. Just saying, do we run up the score like that? I think we would have to, like I said, in order to maintain that strategy of like not letting them run the ball in order to kind of get in the game that way. I think, like I said, I do think we'd have a lot of opportunities to create turnovers for us, so long as we don't like try to match them in the turnover differential. I'd say we could. I think we could. Our first one here, 24-10. I think that's a bit fair for us scoring wise. I think 38 out of the gate is like a bit too rich for my blood. But I would love to see it. Jazz going 20-13 Stallions. Again, I'd be surprised if they scored 13 like that. I said this before with the Texans game. I said 20 points wins it for them or against them. I would say the bare minimum amount of points that we would need to score for this game is like 13. I don't want us to score 13 points. I want us to score more than that, but I think the bare minimum is 13 points. So we got 27-6 going Stallions there. At least you guys are still keeping it. Because you guys don't have to do it. I'm going to go, we score 30. They score 9. That'd be my score. I'm going to go Falcons, Stallions 30. All right, that one I just generally said it. But then again, I already kind of gave up, so it doesn't matter. Stallions 30. Blue Eiffel Tower 9. That'll be my score prediction. I want it to come true. It was really close last time that I was like actively trying. I was trying to go for scoregami last week, and it almost would have worked out in that favor. But go ahead and get the job done with that. But all right, that's going to do it. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a great rest of your night. I don't want to have mayo on my coffee, but that's how this stream shaped out for me, at least. And see you guys next time.